Do we finally have an alternative to WWE's 2K series? Hello there, welcome to Saberduelgaming, where we always take the high ground, and today we're taking a look at AEW's Fight Forever. Initially announced all the way back in November of 2020, we recently got an official release date of the 29th of July for this well-delayed game. Whilst the global incident which shall not be named is at least partly responsible for this, it also must be considered that, unlike the WWE 2K games which are constantly rebuilding on an established model, this is building a game from scratch, so there's at least some excuse as to why it was so heavily delayed. However, there's probably been some behind the scene problems involved also. From the beginning, the discussion around making this game lobbied it very close to being similar to WWF's No Mercy and the other similar WWF and WCW games of the same ilk. They've also mentioned wanting to make it very much like an arcade style, easy to pick up and play. In fairness, most time a company other than WWE or WWF have tried to release their own game, it's been hit and miss at best. TNA's efforts were not so great. ECW's effort was absolutely disastrous. It was only really WCW that made solid wrestling games, and even then, it was one or two classics amongst a series of duds. But a number of AEW's top stars who are also heavily involved behind the scenes, most notably the Young Bucks and of course Kenny Omega, are huge wrestling game and gaming fans in general, so that has to be considered a bonus, but they're not going to be the ones making the game, even if they're going to be signing off on key aspects. Well, in the past week or so, we've found out a few more features and details about the game, which does give us a better idea of what to expect. One of the main things they've talked about is the story mode, which is going to take a very similar approach to No Mercy on the Nintendo 64, which for those that played that game will know that is a very much a positive. It talks about, rather than having one particular story mode to play out, it branches out depending on the decision your character makes behind the scenes as opposed to just in the ring. There's also apparently a host of minigames outside the ring that will affect how your character develops and how the story pans out. These can include things such as using excessive time in the gym, which gives you more skill points to develop your character, or wears away at their stamina and increases the chance of injury. So there's a lot of things you can do to affect how the story's going to go. From what we've seen, the wrestlers will have a decent entrance, although as of yet we've never seen a two-person entrance, so whether we will see Matt and Nick Jackson come down to the ring together or independently, we'll have to wait and see. The style of wrestling is very well tailored to each individual wrestler, which is good, and there's also a whole range of arenas, and the match types are named after the types of matches in AEW, as opposed to their WWE counterpart. However, again, while similar to No Mercy, there is a shop within the game in which you can buy additional weapons, moves, attire, and even wrestlers. That's a good thing, by the way, because it's not using real money. However, that is not exclusively the case. The game does release a whole batch of DLCs throughout time, meaning that if you want the full roster, you're going to have to pay more. And I know this is something that the WWE games do as well, but I was really hoping that AEW wouldn't sink to this level. I was kind of hoping we'd just get a full roster right from the get-go. However, there is one potential difference. There is the rumour going around that this is not going to be an annual game, and instead this will be a one-off, and over time there'll be regular updates. So as new wrestlers, new mini-games and new match types are debuted in AEW, we will see them coming out as updates and DLC, rather than having to ever buy a new game. How long that will last, we'll have to wait and see, if that's even the case. If it is, it does somewhat take the edge off having to pay real money for updates and additional content, but I don't know, I still wish they hadn't sunk to this. Paying for additional stuff within a game once you've already bought it just feels like real lowbrow stuff to me. The one thing we'll have to wait until it's released to really get to grips with though, is how the actual combat plays. Most people that have played bits of it so far have spoken relatively positively of it, but I'll make my own judgment when it comes out. AEW is probably not looking to compete with WWE games right now. If they can make a successful game that turns a profit and at least garners enough interest for future updates, they'll consider that a success. But what do you think? Are you planning to get this game? Are you planning to check out some of AEW's new wrestlers? Comment below and let me know. And until next time, take the high ground.